Buonasera a tutti, benvenuti al Center for Italian Modern Art. Good evening everyone, welcome to the Center for Italian Modern Art, CIMA. My name is Nicola Lucchi, I am the Managing Director here at CIMA, and I am very happy to have so many people here tonight, and very grateful for this event, which is not really done by us, but truly it's something that was brought to my attention by Stefano Albertini from Casa Italiana, whom I want to thank for hosting this event here while Casa Italiana is still keeping safe from COVID. We will try to as well stay safe by keeping our masks on, right? And we'll do our best. The event is part of In Scena, Italian Theater Festival, New York, which is organized by Cairo's Italian Theater and by Laura Caparrotti in particular, whom I also thank for putting together all the work that goes with the festival. And tonight we will present a play written and performed by Alessandro Tampieri, and the title of the play is Confino, Exile. And what a better play could we have had for speaking of injustices, which is also the theme of our exhibition here, which has been on show since January and will continue to be here until June 18. Now, our exhibition speaks of Italian art between 1880 and 1917, but we do know that shortly after 1917 and the end of World War I, Italy's injustices were only about to become worse under fascism. And this play in particular speaks of the treatment of gay people under fascism and the sort of injustices and discriminations that they endured. Speaking to us about that subject and in connessione virtuale dall'Italia, we also have another guest that will be introduced by Stefano Albertini, Luca De Santis, who is a graphic novelist and the author of In Italia, Sono Tutti, Maschi, a graphic novel that had a lot of success and that deals precisely with the very same theme that we will also see tonight in the play, but that I think it's worth discussing precisely because of the many ways that artists have been reflecting upon this issue. So without further ado, Stefano, if you can join us here, and thank you everyone.
Grazie mille, Nicola. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I'm delighted to see real people with real faces, even if partly covered by masks. As Nicola mentioned, Casa Italiana, as you know, is still closed, not for our decision. I repeat this every time. It is not us who decide when we open and when we close. As you know, we are part of New York University, and they're keeping a very strict policy regarding the admission of non-NYU people. And I'm very grateful to CIMA and its managing director, Nicola Lucchi, because they're giving us shelter. We are a homeless casa, a home without a home. And or una casa raminga, as Pascoli would have said, talking about Italian immigration. Raminga in the sense that we are wandering around for places, and Nicola gave us a home tonight, and not only a home, but a lot of support, both technical and psychological in terms of encouragement. We did an event at the Italian Cultural Institute. So we are trying to keep our activities and our mission alive, even if physically still we're not allowed to open our doors. Hopefully in September. Be with us, and if we need you to lobby NYU to do the right thing, since all the cultural institutions and art institutions in New York are open, I'm gonna be relying on you and your ability to push the envelope in that direction that I think it's the right direction. Use all the cautions you want, but then life should begin again. Now, I don't want to take more time because we have a guest from Italy, Luca De Santis. As Nicola has mentioned, Luca is the author, together with Sara Colaone, of this graphic novel, In Italia, Sono Tutti, Maschi. In Italy, they're all men, real men, published more than 10 years ago. And so I would like to start by asking Luca how the idea was born. And a graphic novel, in many cases, as it is in this case, is the result of a collaboration between a graphic artist that draws what's in it and the person who writes the text. And so tell us how the idea came about and how you proceeded in working on it. And it's exactly the same topic that will be at the center of the performance that will follow. Luca is a screenwriter and author of essays regarding especially the conditions of homosexuals in Italy. And so he has many things to say on the topic. Luca, tell us how the idea was born and how specifically the work for in Italia sono tutti maschi was born. And then, of course, the title. You have to reveal immediately the author of that brilliant title. Luca.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. And I'm glad to be here. The story, first of all, the story of homosexual exile during the fascist regime is an unknown story, even in Italy. When I started studying 20 years ago, there was not book, just a few movies like Una giornata particolare, directed by Ettore Scola with Sofia Loren and Marcello Mastroianni. One of the most important books, La città e l'isola, the city and the island, had yet to come out. No one knew this story, neither I. I was a young activist in LGBT community, but nobody told me this story. So I read an interview in a gay magazine called Babylonia, Italian magazine LGBTQ. An interview by an historian of LGBT community, Giovanni Dall'Orto, an interview to an old man, a 75 years old man. And this man spoke about his exile from 1938 to 1940. From the city of Salerno to the Tremiti Island. The Tremiti Island are a tiny island in east coast of Italy, in Adriatic Sea. And while Germany made the 175 paragraph, which sent gay men in concentration camps, in Italy, in the fascist regime, Mussolini chose not to make a law because there were no gay men in Italy. In Italia sono tutti maschi. It means in Italy they are all masculine, strong, brave, and fascist. So what happened? A void was created, and the police could do what they wanted. From 1936 to 1940, when the war began, we know more than 300 homosexuals sent to exile, and almost 100 just in Tremiti Island.
Thank you very much, Luca. In the meantime, I was showing some of the documents. So we saw an image of the Tremiti Islands, of the fortress-like jail that was at the center of it, and then these documents. And maybe we should remember our friends in the audience that the Confino, that is internal confinement, internal exile, in the sense that these people were not sent abroad. They were sent to very remote parts of Italy, normally small islands or small remote villages, where they couldn't have any contact with anybody among themselves or with people back home. And it was not the result of a trial, so there was not a court decision. And therefore, they didn't have any right to defend themselves, to have a lawyer. It was so-called an administrative sanction that could be issued even only on the basis of rumors. If the police had been informed of activities that were not proper, the prefect of the city could simply sign an act like the one we see here, and that was the sentence and the condemnation to internal exile. Not only gay people were sentenced to this kind of measure, but as we know, the case particularly famous of Carlo Levi, the author of Christ Stopped the Deboli, that was also sent to internal confinement for political reasons, for political activity. It was a very easy way to get rid of your enemies or the people you perceive to be enemies of the regime without staging a full trial. You didn't have to demonstrate anything. Rumors were enough. And Luca, to write this graphic novel required research because, as you said, there were very few publications at that time. And in the span of time between the publication of your graphic novel and today, a lot of historical literature essays came out on this topic. You mentioned Giovanni Dell'Orto, and I think we should send him an applause for what he has done. He's basically a scholar of the history of the LGBTQ community in Italy. He's not affiliated with any university. Nobody pays him a salary. And he has done really pioneering work, especially in putting together documents and other proofs of the conditions of gay people throughout history, not only limiting to the 20th century. Let me ask you, the research that you did in preparation for writing the novel. So you said that your curiosity was stimulated by reading Giovanni Dall'Orto and Babilonia. And then what is the research that you did? Did you get to meet anybody, any of the victims, any of the people that had been confined?
Yes, I worked 4 and 5 years on documentation and files in the Rome State Archive.
Archive,
the
yeah.
story of, there are the documents. I found it, and the story of a comic book is based on 30 files about 30 real people. I found documentation, letters, complaints, requests for help, requests for a coat, for shoes. It was the research. It was so dramatic, and many times I cried for the story of this man because I found their letters. Letters to family, letters for a request help. So in 5 years, I studied that documentation, but there are real stories, real teardrops. It's very, very touched.
Thank you, Luca. And the problem also was that regarding specifically the confinement of gay people during fascism, that it was very difficult to find somebody willing to go on the record, to speak after this happened. So the documentation was made even more complicated by the social stigma that remained in Italy after the fall of fascism regarding homosexuality. And that made things even more complicated because the people that had suffered those measures were also suffering still of the social stigma that surrounded them. So that's the interesting challenge. So as very often it happens, as we know also from survivors from extermination camps, there is that shame almost for what happened to you, for having survived. So these dynamics that are very delicate and very deep inside the psyche and the soul of each of us were brought to a raw level that was very difficult to deal with. And that was an element of the historical research that complicated further the research on this.
The story of the gay exiles is a story of cancelling erasures. When Mussolini said we didn't exist. The second, when they took them away from their cities, their home. And the third, when they come back to home because they never told about exile, about their life in Ireland. Primo Levi, in his book, Se questo è un uomo, he say the only way for a victim to survive is to become a witness. Homosexual exile never done that, never told their story. So I hope this comic book, but also this meeting, this evening, and this theatrical show can give back a little voice to those people.
Thank you, Luca. And the story of In Italia siamo tutti maschi, it's a very good, uplifting story. It was published more than 10 years ago, so there was a commemorative 10th year edition with extra bonus. And there also in the introduction documents things that have happened in terms of historical research after the publication of it. It has been translated in how many languages?
And 10 languages.
But not English.
Yeah,
we should do something about that, right?
Yes, we're not English.
and Luca, and then it received many prizes, recognitions. So tell us what, and you went around also to present it in different parts of Italy, in different contexts. How was it when you sort of revealed Italians, this piece of their history, this very shameful piece of Italian history? What were the reactions that you got from the different contexts in which you appeared to present the book?
A comics book is a conscious choice. I think there is not a such transversal medium for all people, from the youngest to the most adult. In the last 10 years, I have been telling the story of homosexual exile in LGBT clubs and conference and libraries and bookstore and school to young students in Italy, in Belgium, in France, and also in association LGBTQ senior in Madrid. The comic book was a very powerful medium. In these 10 years, me and Sarah, we meet so many people from the youngest to the adults. The comic books is so amazing medium for that story.
Thank you. And I'm going back to the first question because then we neglected to explore. How did you and Sara Colaone work? Did you present her like with the script, with the text? How did you decide on the style, on the vibe that you wanted to give with the images and how they work with the text? And in the meantime, I'm showing some images of the book itself. At the beginning, I showed you historical documents and a couple of pictures of the Tremiti Island. So you and Sara, how did these, and it's not the only graphic novel you did together with her, right?
Yes, we made 5 books this time, and we work together. There is no the first part with the screenplay and the second part with drawing, but we work together. It's a work with 2 heads, and we share ideas, we share dialogues and structure of page from the first page to the last one.
And Luca, question, the main character, Ninella, of the graphic novel, is he inspired to a real person, or he summarizes different characters and different features of different real people that went through this experience?
Ninella, it was inspired our real people. The real name was Peppinella, Giuseppe, and called with a female nickname Peppinella. But in our book, Peppinella is Ninella. Is a nickname from Antonio, not Giuseppe. But his story is real, and the comic books tell a real story of Giuseppe, character of the interview of Giovanni Dall'Orto.
Thank you, Luca. And as we go through the images, they're very, very powerful. They're very effective, very contrasted. And I think it's only fitting that we had the fortune of having you here tonight to talk about how this very important and forgotten for a long time topic in Italian history has been brought back to light, also thanks to graphic novels, to this genre that, as you say, runs across different generations and can relate to everybody. And also I think the idea that brought us here tonight is that this beautiful exhibit that Cima is hosting, the title is Staging Injustice. And staging means that art brings to the forefront social problems, the ones that we see here and the one we are exploring tonight. And so the relationship on how art can contribute to bring back to light the injustices of the past in order to not have them happen again in the future. We have a couple of minutes if you have any questions for Luca De Santis regarding his graphic novel on the confinement of homosexuals in Italy. And in the meantime, I can go down with the images and show you something else for Luca.
Something you said about the fascists and saying we don't have any homosexuals here reminds me of something more recently. I think Belarus, one of those dictator countries, said, well, we don't have homosexuals here.
Yes. A member of our audience is...
More of a comment than a...
Yes, absolutely. I thought about the same thing, saying that very recently one of the leaders of these, one of these authoritarian leaders in Eastern Europe, maybe Belarus, said something very similar. We don't have homosexuals. Why do you accuse us of discriminating against them? And that's the paradox, because during fascism, Luca, correct me if I'm wrong, same thing. When fascism was promoting this idea of the hyper-virility of the Italian men and denying that there was an homosexual problem in Italy, at the same time, that's when they come up with all these measures for the repression of homosexual behavior. So on one hand, they couldn't admit, and of course there was this sort of tongue-in-cheek, that when Hitler comes up with the repressive law for homosexuality and the deportation of homosexuals in Germany, it was admitting that there was an issue there. And Mussolini was saying, oh, we don't have this problem. It's something that you Germans are dealing with. So it's constant, but you find it in every dictatorial regime. You know, you have the same attitude. Like, no, we don't have any of these problems. And at the same time, the most cruel and ferocious persecutions, that's when they're developed. If you think that Italy didn't have an anti-homosexual legislation, when Oscar Wilde decided to, after the trial and after prison, has to decide to go somewhere, everybody tells him, go to Italy, because that's not where you're going. There was no such a thing as laws persecuting homosexuals. I'm not saying that their life was better, easy, but there were, at least from a legislative point of view, there was no law on the books, whereas in England, of course, you had them.
Yes. Also in Italy, there is no equal marriage, only civil unions. In these days, in Italy, the government will discuss from the second time a law against homophobia and transphobia. Finger crossed. So I think also in Italy, we are still all males.
Thank you, Luca. Yes, the same law was rejected a few months ago by the Senate, so it's the second reading of the law against homophobia and transphobia. Luca, thank you very much. Again, we hope to see you in New York when the book comes out here. In Italia, siamo tutti maschi.
Thank you.
And thank you for having given us a chance to bring together different forms of art tonight. Theater, graphic novel, drawing, and literature are all combined to bring to light these one of the many injustices that happened during fascism. Thank you to Luca De Santis. Please welcome.
Thank you.
And I think now there's going to be a very quick change of the set, of the scenery, and Laura is going to tell us something about the performance that we are going to see tonight.
So we have a few minutes to switch from one form to another form of art. And just to tell you that, first of all, we are very happy to be here at Cima, thanks to Stefano and Casa Italiana. And thank you, Nicola, and everyone at Cima for having us, because I feel like we are bringing a form of wonderful art where wonderful art is around us. So we are surrounded by wonderful art, and we are having wonderful art. In Scena, it's been alive since 2013, never stopped in 2020, as everything stopped. And the idea was to bring, I am in New York for many, many years, almost 27, and I have the Italian Theater Company, and you all know it because most of you are members of Casa Italiana or are friends of KIT. So the idea was to bring Italian theater, the Italian theater that you can see in Italy, in the theaters in Italy, so not, something that is being done just for New York, but it's really what is touring Italy here in New York. So kind of bringing you to Italy without going to Italy, even though I know that you all loved going to Italy. You'll prefer to be in Italy, maybe, than in New York. But what we are bringing is really the best of Italian theater. Every year we bring between 10 and 15 companies. This year is a very special edition. And as Stefano said, every year we go in the 5 boroughs of New York City, and sometimes we go to Washington, and this year we went to Boston. And my plan is to go all over the States, never to stop. Another important aspect is that the shows of Scena are free admission. Why? Because we really wanted to bring people to theater. So in one way, we go to all the communities. It will be easy to do it in one theater for 1 week. You have many, many shows in that theater in Manhattan. And instead, we go to communities. Last night, we were at the St. John Lutheran Church in the West Village. Tomorrow, and this morning, we were at La Scuola Guglielmo Marconi, last night with this show. 2 days ago with the Bernie Wald, where we are going to be tomorrow night with a beautiful show from Sardinia, The Barefoot Widow. This morning, we were at La Scuola giving workshops. Tomorrow night, we'll be in the Bronx with this show at the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance. And in 2 days, we are at the Greek Cultural Center in Queens, Astoria, or Astoria, Queens, with the Barefoot Widow. So really is the idea not only to do theater, to bring the Italian theater here, but to bring it to all the communities. It's hard, it's challenging, it's very challenging, but what we bring is not, sometimes I feel that because we don't bring these shows in established theater, they could see us less important, but I have to say I really, really admire these artists that are bringing their arts and giving us their arts and putting the arts in our hands and say, okay, we'll come, we'll do it. We adjust with, only lights like the ones that you see today, or, only 2 hours rehearsal, tech rehearsal. So it's really admirable, and we are so grateful to all of them. This year we were supposed to, this year is a special edition, as I said. We have something that usually happens after the festival, 2 productions of the Mario Fratti Award. The Mario Fratti Awards are awards that are given to plays that every year we have a submission process, and one play wins the Mario Fratti Award. And we translated, the award is translation, publication, first reading, and production. Yes, we do all that. And this year, we produced 2 Mario Fratti Awards. They were the first coming back. We said, okay, we'll do local production. We'll never get Italian artists from Italy. And we did one production, just finished Sunday. I co-directed the production just because I didn't have anything else to do. So I said, why not? One other production, Hide and Seek by Tobia Rossi, was supposed to be at the same time, but one of the actors, the past 2 years, what happened. So it's happening this week from Wednesday through Saturday at the Tank on 36th Street. And then we put also the Mario Fratti Awards. This is why we are having 3 readings. And the last reading of the Mario Fratti Award 2021 is on the 19th at the Theater Lab at 6 p.m. Then we started to bring, maybe one artist from Italy. And then I was like, no, let's bring 2 shows from Italy. No, let's bring 3. And we decided to have 3 shows, but one show was canceled because the musician of the show, which was a beautiful show, another beautiful show, the musician, the day before, before coming. So these are the times we live in, right, Stefano? Yes. And so this is why this year is a very special edition. I will say, like Stefano said, push NYU because we want to reopen and we welcome you again. We have wonderful programs coming up. We cannot tell you, I cannot say anything, but we have wonderful programs coming up for the fall, and we have an amazing 2023 festival already in place because we had 12 shows, so we brought 2. Now we have 10 more to bring you. So I thank you all, and I thank Cima for having us. This is the beginning of an ongoing collaboration, right? Yes, you are witnesses. And I thank my dear friend Stefano, who's been a champion during these times, and as well as Kostya over there, who's another champion. We are a family, and I am lucky to be part of this family. And now I'm going to cry, so I'm going to leave you, and I'll see you afterwards. Maybe we will talk with Alessandro a little bit. Enjoy the show.